symptoms are letting us know that there is something in the body or the brain that is wrong, right? So if you have strep throat, you'll present with a high fever probably and a really raw sore throat. But that could also be caused by a cold. That could also be caused by other illnesses. So if you only look at the symptoms and try to treat based solely on the symptoms, you're not getting to what's causing those symptoms. The body and the brain are trying to tell you there is something wrong. And if you can look to what is causing it, then you can treat that and then you can heal. And after about 10 years, I was living so healthy, and it had been so long since I'd experienced, actual mania, and I rarely experienced depression anymore. And I started getting kind of frustrated because I thought, why didn't anybody tell me this was possible? I had been told that this was a chronic condition. I'd been told that it was a lifelong condition, that it was progressive, that it could potentially keep getting worse, and that I would live with these symptoms for the rest of my life. And I believed it. And so I kind of started feeling like I'd been lied to. And as I started, trying to talk to people about it and share what I'd learned, because I thought, I don't want people to have to take 20 years to figure these things out for themselves. I want to help them find these tools without having to go hunt them down themselves. I started doing a lot of research, just trying to understand why these things were helping me. And none of these things are secrets. There are books written about each of these tools. The first one that I'm going to recommend some books to you. If anybody's interested in learning about this stuff themselves, I will tell you not all of them. I've got a whole bookshelf back here full of books that I've read. But these are the ones that are the most helpful. This first one is called The Anatomy of an Epidemic. And this one, I had to kind of pace myself reading it because it was making me more and more angry. This one is written by a investigative journalist who was just trying to understand why, if psychiatric care has improved so much, why have we seen an exponential increase in the number of people who are on disability, who are becoming permanently disabled by mental health treatment and mental illness. And it is thoroughly documented. He goes through it and does such amazing research on all of this and puts it in a way that you can understand it. And the problem is that back in about 100 years ago, I'm just going to give you a tiny bite-sized, like 10,000 foot view of what this is. About 100 years ago, when they were discovering, maybe a little more than that, when they were discovering things like penicillin and, these kind of magic bullet treatments that were curing diseases, psychiatry wanted the same thing. They wanted to find the same kind of magic bullet to treat mental illness. So they were creating diagnoses so that they could then treat the diagnosis. And the problem is that even 100 years later, we still don't know what causes these things. You can go to the National Institute of Mental Health website and type in what causes bipolar, and it will come up with saying, we don't know what causes bipolar disorder. They have created a mental health diagnosis, a medical diagnosis based solely on the symptoms. And we're not treating the cause of the problem. We are treating the symptoms with the medications. And the problem that's creating, and we're playing guess and check with the medications too. And so it didn't work for me. I know that there are some people who have found relief with medication, and I'm so happy for them. I'm so grateful that they've found relief from that. I am not telling people, go off of your medications, but I am saying there are a lot of us who medication is not helping. I was one of those people. I was med compliant. I took it actively, consistently for over a decade, and I had a huge breakdown, ended up hospitalized multiple times. They did electroconvulsive therapy on me. I attempted suicide 2 times. I had so much despair, and I felt like my life had no value. And I was so frustrated that when I finally found the True Hope treatment, the micronutrient treatment, I was so frustrated that nobody had showed that to me before. Why did I have to find that for myself? Why aren't we looking with all of the medical research that's going on? Why are we still only treating with medications when there is tons of research to back this up? Which brings me to my next book that I would highly recommend, The Better Brain. I interviewed Dr. Bonnie Kaplan, who is one of the co-authors of this. She is one of the pioneers, and you can go back and listen to that podcast episode. It's amazing. She's one of the pioneers. Back in the 70s, she started finding connections between brain health and mental illness and nutrition. And she and Dr. Julia Rucklidge were the ones who did all this research. And Julia Rucklidge is still very active in this field, looking at the impact that proper nutrition and micronutrient treatment has on healing mental illness. And so it is looking at what is causing the symptoms, what is causing the body and the brain to express these symptoms, and treating the thing that's causing it. She doesn't like that word. We'll tell you, go back in the podcast episode and listen to it, because she's like, I don't like to talk about it like causes, and you can see the reason for it. But ultimately, symptoms are letting us know that there is something in the body or the brain that is wrong, right? So if you have strep throat, you'll present with a high fever probably and a really raw sore throat. But that could also be caused by a cold. That could also be caused by other illnesses. So if you only look at the symptoms and try to treat based solely on the symptoms, you're not getting to what's causing those symptoms. The body and the brain are trying to tell you there is something wrong. And if you can look to what is causing it, then you can treat that, and then you can heal so that you're not experiencing the symptoms. And somebody's asking which episode it is. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's Dr. Bonnie Kaplan. It was only like a month ago, so it's probably about 4 episodes back, I'm thinking. And I'll make sure I link those in the show notes as well.